Tesla's long promised electric semi is finally rolling out at scale. And maybe surprisingly, a lot of truckers actually love it. Early drivers are raving about the center driving position, cameras at each blind spots, megawatt class fast charging, and real world range of up to 500 miles on a single charge. Just as Tesla prepares to ramp up production in Nevada towns towards tens of thousands of trucks a year. From Business Insights Daily, my name is Shashank, and I'm your host, Shashank. Today, we're climbing up into the cab of a vehicle that has been promised, delayed, and is now finally starting to show up where it matters in the hands of working truck drivers. Tesla's new battery powered semi truck is drawing rave reviews from notoriously hard to impress audiences, long haul truckers. Just as the company gears up to deliver as many as 15,000 semis out of its Nevada Gigafactory in 2026, with an eventual goal of being 50,000 a year. Can you win over the people who hate change? As you listen, I'd love for you to hold on to that question. What does it actually take to convince professional drivers, people whose livelihood depends on these machines, that an electric semi is not just different but better than the diesel they've tested for decades? From prototype to production. Let's start with where we are in the Tesla Semi story. Tesla first unveiled the Semi way back in 2017, promising a futuristic electric truck that would go 500 miles on single charge and outpull a diesel on steep grades. Then came delays, years of them. Limited pilot trucks did go out early to companies like PepsiCo, but mass production kept slipping. That change finally changed this year. A dedicated semi-factory next to Tesla's Gigafactory in Nevada has moved from construction site to active production line, with frames moving through assemblies times towards 50,000 truck annual capacity once the plant is fully up to speed. For context, the total US market for heavy duty Class 8 trucks is 25,000 to 250,000 to 300,000 vehicles a year. So 50,000 semis would represent close to 15 to 20% of the domestic market from a single electric model. What truckers actually like? Well, production numbers are only half the story. The other half is the truckers actually want to drive this thing. According to recent Wall Street report, many of the drivers who tested this Tesla Semi are surprisingly enthusiastic. The centered position. Instead of sitting on the left like conventional truck, the driver is at the center of a cab. The panorama view of the road ahead and more advanced visibility to both sides. Cameras instead of blind spots. Exterior cameras and large interior screens give a constant, clear view down both sides of the trailer, eliminating some of the biggest blind spots that makes trucking restful and dangerous. Cameras instead of blind spots. Acceleration and quiet. Electric torque means the semi can pull loads upgrades more smoothly and merge into traffic fast, all without noise, vibration, and diesel fumes drivers are used to. Range and charging. The long range version is rated for about 500 miles on charge, full 82,000 pound gross weight. And Tesla's megawatt charging system can reportedly add 60 to 70% of that range in 30 minutes. Is this still a truck or a cockpit? That leads to the second question. When you center the driver, replace mirror screen, and give the camera sports like car like door, at one point the semi stop feeling like a truck and start feeling more like an airplane cockpit or a tech product pilot. For veteran drivers, that change can be disorienting, but for many, it's also exciting. Some have told reporters it feels like the first time a smartphone replaced their flip phone. Unfamiliar, but clearly the direction things are going. Under the hood, really under the cab, SMI's numbers aren't just about comfort. there about economics. Tesla has now confirmed two main versions of the semi. Standard range, about 325-mile range, with full 82,000 pound gross combination weight, or long range, about 500 miles at the same weight, with similar efficiency and power, but with a larger battery, into 1.2 megawatts of peak charging power, allowing a 60% charge in roughly 30 minutes. Regulations allow the electric truck to weigh an extra 2 pounds over the usual 8,000-pound Class 8 limit of offset battery weight, which keeps payload competitive. Analysts estimate payload capacity in the ballpark of 45 to 48,000 pounds, similar to many diesel rigs used in regional and long haul freight. On paper, a combination of range, payload, and megawatt class charging means the fleet can keep the semi in motion through most of the driver's legal workday with one or two fast charging stops. Pattern not that different from how some teams are already scheduling fuel and rest breaks. So, if you're not a trucker, why does this matter? Heavy duty trucks represent a relatively small slice of vehicles on the road, a huge share of road freight emissions. One estimate in the US Class 8 trucks are a minority of vehicles but account for a disproportionately large chunk of diesel consumption and transport sector climate pollution. Tesla or any other manufacturer can deliver an electric truck that meets or beats diesel in the cost of ownership, keep drivers happy enough to stay in the job, and works reliably in the real world freight, then the impact spreads well beyond one company and it pushes competitors like Volvo, Daimler, Packard to accelerate their own electric and hydrogen programs, and it nudges shippers from big box retailers to beverage companies to rethink what their fleets should look like over the next decade. Coming back to the house. So, let's revisit those three questions we've been threading through the story. Number one, can you win over people who hate change? Early signs suggest that the semi is doing exactly that, impressing skeptical truckers with better visibility, comfort, and performance, rather than asking them to drive a green truck for its own sake. Number two, it's still a truck or a cockpit. The centered seat, giant screens, and camera-based with the road signals a shift in how drivers relate to their vehicles. From operating a piece of heavy machinery to managing a high-tech sensor-rich system. And number three, can better trucks fix a driver shortage? As electric semis make this job less exhausting and more appealing, they help fleets attract and retain drivers, even as autonomy slowly creeps into the conversation for future versions of these trucks. So, the next time you're on the highway and you see a big rig in the next lane, you might look a little more closely at the cab. Is the driver sitting in the middle? Are there cameras where mirrors used to be? Because somewhere between those familiar diesel trucks and this new class of electric semis is a quiet revolution in how goods move, how drivers work, and how much carbon we emit just by buying the stuff that has to get from here to there. I'm your host Sushank. This has been Business Insights Daily. Stay informed and stay ahead. Thank you for listening.